welcome to Udaipur Architecture Festival, day 2, that is 17th of December 2020. And we are here at Gangor Ghat streaming live for the Heritage Walk that we have planned, that we have scheduled specially for you all, so that you have a glimpse of what Udaipur architecture is all about, what Udaipur culture is all about, what Udaipur social life is all about. And we are going to take you through a small journey starting from City Palace to this ghat. And Amit is going to take care of the whole thing. While Amit takes his position, we'll just brief you why we took this step. Basically, we need to share our culture to people. Let us study more and go deep into our culture and derive certain details, learn some details that we have missed out in our architecture. And just we want to trigger whether you can actually use those details in your modern day architecture and add a flavor, local flavor to the whole thing. You may be in anywhere on the globe, and you can just learn from this and derive your own details, learning from local architecture in your place. So this is what we are going to talk about today in the Heritage Walk. We've had a fantastic day yesterday, full day, full of sessions with almost 2100 people attending the seminar till date. And now today in the line, we have Anna Heringer coming in. We have Paul Jackson again coming in. We had some problem last evening because of some thunderstorm in his place. But now it's all lined up. This is what the message is from Israel. And so that today we'll have an extended workshop. It may go up to 1 hour 15 minutes. So it is at 2 and it'll end at 3:15. Then we have the rest of the lineup. You already have the schedule, I believe. And we have a grand finale in the evening where we declare who all the winners are of the competitions. And we're going to have a very special address today by COA President, that is Council of Architecture of India President Habib Khan sir. And we are blessed to have him. And we will also have Joint Director Tourism, Rajasthan Tourism. She is going to join us and bless us with her words of wisdom. So stay tuned in and let's go to Amit. Amit, can you be live now? Amit. Is Amit live now?
Namaste everyone and welcome back to the Udaipur Architecture Festival Day 2. And hopefully you had amazing thought triggering sessions yesterday with architect Kazumo, with architect Bill, and some futuristic thinking session with architect Sunil Ladda, and amazing origami session with Paul Jackson. We have another beautiful lineup today as well with architect Dean, with continued session of Paul Jackson, Heritage Walk, and then there's this grand finale tonight. So hopefully you will have like amazing festival vibe going on with y'all. So hello everyone, I'm Amit Gaurav and welcome to the Heritage Walk, where today I'm going to take you through the architectural journey of this beautiful city of lakes of Udaipur. The weather is really present right now, and right now I'm standing in front of this entrance of this huge city palace of Udaipur. So I'll let you know, go through a small story before starting the Heritage Walk. As I always say that every city is born out of a story that is defined by its history, culture and architecture. So when Chittorgarh got conquered by the Mughal emperors, so Maharana Uday Singh Ji too decided to shift the capital of Mewar from Chittor to Udaipur. So this land was clearly one of the most suitable options for the Maharana to select it as a future capital of Mewar. This land had all the geographic ingredients with it. That includes majorly the water resources, easy accessibility, and one of the most important aspects that is of great concern generally is the security. And since this land was completely in the laps of Aravlis, it gave it a niche to be a very secured place to become the capital of Mewar. So this city palace complex, generally it is termed as Rajput architectural style, but it is a fusion of Rajasthani architecture and Mughal architecture. So So you have a lot of arches, you know, inspired by both architectural style types, and when you go in, but we are not, this is not where we have come here for. We are not going to explore the City Palace complex, but we are here to explore the architectural journey, the architectural details, the life on the streets of this old city of Udaipur. So let's begin this journey. Before that, I would like to also let you know that Udaipur was planned like any other ancient city. It followed the hierarchy principle of God, Lord, and people. So I'll let you know a very interesting fact where when we go further, you know, up the hill. So Udaipur is got all this like it's completely a hilly terrain where you will see like we go further and you'll see, you know, we were climbing further and you'll see many terrains during this heritage walk. So let's begin our journey, and hopefully you'll have amazing time while this heritage walk. So let's begin, and let's see what's Udaipur's got with it, you know. The planning pattern of Udaipur includes the residential planning as well as the commercial planning. And the residential planning can be segregated further in three parts. One is huge havelis, then there were individual houses, and then there was this third, which is also called community housing pole system. Right now I am in front of this pole system, a community housing, and you can see the main entrance. So community housing used to have a main entrance, a single entrance to the whole housing, and it used to open in the chalk, a huge chalk, and then there were these houses attached to each other in an alignment. So we are going to explore these pole system. Let's go in and let's see what it looks like. This is what it looks like, where they have a huge chalk, a main entrance, and then a huge chalk, and then series of housing. So basically, people from same community or same occupation used to live in this kind of housing. This used to give them a sense of security, because then we didn't have police station or judiciary system as we have today. The only place was the King's Court, where it was not accessible to everyone for all small things. So the sense of security made them come into this kind of housing, and it used to be different from the commercial part, where they used to have shops in the bazaars. They didn't used to have commercial aspect in this housing. So this is what pole system is like. So this was not a planned stop here, but we are fortunate enough to, you know, witness this restoration project. And so you can see, so basically it went through some modernization in terms of paint. So they had painted the stone in white, but there is some restoration going on where you can easily see the walls in stones. So typical elements, architectural elements of Udaipur architecture, where they have gokhra, then they have like this ornamentation, arches in stone, small peeping windows, colored glass, so stone chhajja, and brackets. So these are like typical elements when it comes to Udaipur architecture, and we're gonna explore more in detail when we go further. Yes, let's go on. So you can easily see the old structure and the modernization of this structure. So you know, this space is going through a lot of modernization, but you can easily compare both these structures that's in front of you. You know how they have changed completely from lime plaster to cement plaster, and many other elements. You can see the chhajjas have been changed, you know, and the type of windows, the ornamentation has also changed. Many other aspects have changed during modernization. So we have another beautiful structure here which has got beautiful peacock brackets, peep-in windows, and typical white and blue color, stone chhajas, and a lot of ornamentation on the walls. This structure is also in stone, but it has also gone through modernization of paint. Like they have painted it white, but it used to be stone. If you clearly see the difference between white and stone bracket over there, and then there are these peep-in windows, stone chhajas. It's also got this commercial shop with it. This is one of the examples of residential housing where this is example of a housing, individual house of residential planning. So there used to be a commercial shop, and then there used to be an entrance where we will discuss more in detail and further when we go further. Architecture plays an important role when it comes to climatology. It's afternoon and you can see half the road is already shaded. So this is the main road. It's just inspired like rivers or trees, you can say, where there's this main spine or trunk, and then there are these branches to it. So there are these small streets attached to the main lane, and the houses are that close that you can see no sun coming in. That's how important architecture is playing an important role here when it comes to climatology. So we'll go and see such small streets where the buildings shadow is overlapping each other, and it's creating this cool effect. It's right now these are it's winter, but in summers also it's the same. So you can feel the shade over in this lane, and it's completely it's very cold. I'm not wearing anything but it's really cold here. Like it's really, I can feel the cold breeze here. Again, you can see gokras, these brackets, small peep-in windows. A lot of things have gone through a lot of modernization, but in a beautiful, it's really beautiful. And then there are these terrains where you can climb in, like these steps. So a lot of levels over here. So here we have few more examples of restoration where they have tried to restore the stone walls, brackets, and chhajas. So whatever possible structures, they have tried to restore these structures. So you can see them in series where they have removed the paint from it, and yeah, this is the kind of work they are trying to do, the restoration work. So basically, again, a very visible hilly terrain, going level up towards the City Palace complex. So City Palace complex is where it's on the highest point in the whole Udaipur when it comes to planning of a huge structure. Though there's this Monsoon Palace which is on the highest point, but when we talk about a huge structure, the City Palace complex is on the highest point, and these are the lanes where it's taking, you know, there are houses all around the city palace except for the lake side. There's lake side on the other side, and then other than lake, there are a lot of houses around city palace complex. And this is how the terrain looks like, you know, going towards the city palace. You can easily see the city palace dome from this point, where it's visible very clearly. Previously, we tried to learn about the planning patterns of residential housing in this old city. And we have already seen the pole system, we have seen individual small houses with commercial space, and now we are going to go through one Haveli, which is the third aspect of residential planning. And we are really grateful to the owner of the Haveli who has allowed us to peep in their private space. So come and let's explore the elements of architecture in Haveli. Let's go. So this is the structure where you can see beautiful stone brackets, chhajas, peep-in windows, ornamentation on the stone carving, and there are these beautiful paintings. These used to be part of a house when there used to be a wedding, when there used to be a festive season. So these paintings used to play an important role of interior and exterior of a house. So now we are going to get into this house and see what are the spaces like. So this house, Haveli, basically consists of courtyard spaces. There used to be public courtyard, then semi-private courtyard, and then private courtyard, and then there used to be different terraces. So let's explore this Haveli and let's see what's there in there. This is the main entrance to the Haveli. So this used to be the main foyer of the house, where the guest was allowed up till this foyer, and there used to be this huge door to the drawing room. So guests were not allowed beyond this point. I mean, by guests I mean the men. Men were not allowed beyond this point, and only females were allowed to go beyond this point, because this point, now this foyer will open to a semi-private courtyard, this side. So this foyer opens to semi-private courtyard, and you can see a gallery over here, a corridor where there are beautiful brackets supported by beautiful brackets, and there is one attachment to the bracket. You know, it's to hold the railing. It's for the detailing of like holding the railing above the bracket. You know, so it's such beautiful detailing. There are other patterns. If you see, there are bands, you know, over the brackets to give it an ornamentation look, to enhance the look basically. So there's this band of ornamentation just over these detailings. So and there are these rooms on both the sides of the courtyard, and then there's this staircase going towards. We'll get more private, you know, when we climb up the stairs. So there will be series of courtyards we'll be seeing here. So now as we came up from the stairs, so there is this another foyer which is a buffer space between this semi-private space and the private space. So now we are moving ahead where we have come to a level where there is this private courtyard now, like where you know, it's more of a private space where things like kitchen, washing and everything you know, used to be the core part in these kind of courtyards. So you can just see Though the modernization has taken place, you can see that it has been painted, but these are actually stone brackets, and again railing holding the detail of railing holders, you know. So this is again the same pattern is being run in this house all over. There are other private things like toilets, kitchen, wash areas we have already talked about. So these are the activities, you know. This courtyard gets involved in those kind of activities. But beautiful space, very again shaded and really effective when it comes to climatology. Like I said, architecture plays an important role when it comes to climatology. So these are inner spaces, and you can see how shaded they are. There's no direct sun coming in. Let's go further. So we explored further. So you can see, so basically wall panelings were not the part of interiors previously. It was more of these arches, the arch doors, and other things, you know, colored glass, mirror work were the main core, like interior. It used to enhance the interiors of the house basically. And you can also see a very beautiful stone band running in here. So we'll show you in detail. So a beautiful stone band running all over the entrance, also creating a level difference between the corridor and the entrance over here. So this is the living area of this house, and this area is completely segregated. It's a very private space, and it is segregated from the lower ground. We are on the first floor right now, and it's segregated from the guest area to the private area. And you can see you know, a beautiful arch. Like this is a typical Rajasthani arch where this design you can see in Rajasthan. Most of the arches you'll find these kind of arches, and you'll also observe the door. You know, there is arch on this door as well to fix in this arch. So it is something like this, you know. So this is the detail of the arch and the door. So as we go further, you will observe there's a loft. Again, there are brackets holding this loft. This is called Tand in Mewari, and you will find in mostly all the open spaces you will find such lofts in these areas to store things. And as we go further, like there are these openings over here in this living area to give more exposure to the light and air ventilation. And then we go towards the bedrooms that are attached to these living areas. And you will also notice, like, you know, such legs in the furniture, you know, beautiful carved legs in this bed. And then there's this beautiful chair over here, again carved, and a very old chair. You will see the flooring pattern where they have this kind of kota stone and this kind of work in the flooring, and this is again a very old pattern in this house. So now we have entered into this bedroom area, and you can see it's a small space because bedrooms used to be very small spaces in the ancient times. And again, beautiful interiors, you know. So as I said previously, that interiors didn't used to be wall panelings previously. It used to be about these arches, colored glasses, and peep-in windows. Like so there are these beautiful peep-in windows. Then there is another arch pattern over here, just on the headboard of the bed. And if you notice the lamps over here, colored glass lamps. Again, you will find in most of the Havelis you will find such lamps. And so now I'll explain you the concept of this leveling over here. So there's this platform. I'll tell you why this platform is here, why there's this level difference here. So this is a kind of you know, a set out area where women used to sit here, and if you observe, there's this one big window, and then there are these peep-in windows over here where women use, you know, women are still intelligent. They are intelligent, and they used to be intelligent then also. They used to maintain social distancing, I'm just kidding. This is how women were not allowed to get involved publicly very often. There used to be a parda system where they used to maintain a distance going in public amongst men. So this used to get followed by women, and so this is how they used to watch out on people or the streets from this peep-in window, where nobody used to or was able to see them completely. So this was especially meant for women to peep out on the streets, or whoever guest has come out or going. They used to see everything, the life on streets. They used to see through these peep-in windows, and it's really beautiful. It's again a part of interiors, and it really enhances the whole room or space with its beauty. Beautiful, isn't it? This is the beauty of a courtyard, where this courtyard, as per climatology, the sun is acquiring a very, very small amount of the area, and rest of the area is all shaded, still shaded, and it's like afternoon, and it's very harsh sun right now, but you can see the most of the area is shaded, and only few of the area is like a very small area is being covered by the sun. So this is another room. This used to be a bedroom previously, but the current owners are using it as a small sit-out or a drawing room, you can say. And again, very like typical interior features, the arches, and a very old Maharana painting, and a Maharana picture over there. And so again, arch, beautiful, like. Yeah, it's really beautiful. You can have a look to these Parvati and Shiv sculptures. These are Gangor sculptures. Okay, I would like to explain you some more detailing of this peep-in window. So basically, if you notice the detailing of this window, it's a miniature of what we have. Proper windows. So it's a miniature style, and everything is miniature. The handles, if you notice the handles, notch, and then there is this detailing where we have in wood. Then there's this molding that we have in wood in human scale doors. So so beautiful it is. And even the arch, like when we use it, see it at a human scale, it's used as ventilation, but it is being used with this miniature. So this complete scale, the proportion is exactly of what is there in actual life. So yeah, so beautiful it is. And there's another type of arch. It's same, but with different dimensions over here. Another miniature window over here, and this arch entrance. And there's this area where currently they have converted into a dining space, and you can also observe the light. This is the beauty of this colored glass that has been put here, and it is again creating an intense interior part. Like, so you can see the green light falling onto me or this space basically. So again, beautiful. So this is the dining area. And we have like photo frames or painting frames around the wall, and we have this kind of niche in the walls and storage, and again this arch pattern over here. Yeah, so this is the connection between drawing room and dining space over here. So do notice the door heights. So when I climb here, it's like it's really low. and there's this very narrow corridor over here where only one human can fit, and there are these small peep-in windows again where I can overlook the courtyard over here and the terrace as well. So different levels, I can see the ground floor, first floor, and then the terrace above. Interesting. And now, so we are going to enter another terrace area, or you can say courtyard area, with a different. It's again a very private courtyard space basically. So we have come to another level now. A beautiful terrace and overlooking the another private courtyard that we had seen previously downstairs. Here you can see a different kind of artwork where there are jalis in these arches, you know. So you can see beautiful different patterns of these jalis over here. Open space, semi-open space, where there was this courtyard and then this semi-open space, and then there are these rooms over here. So yeah, so now we'll go head towards the terrace. So I'm on this terrace now, and I can see a beautiful view of and levels of how the houses are laid here. You can see the different levels of the houses, you know, going to this low to high terrain, and the backyard, the backwards, there's nothing you know, visible over here, but it's all visible over here. I can see all the terraces from different houses. So now you know how like Udaipur is, like, you know, the old city has got this hilly terrain all over, like, you know, but climatology, it works well for this city and for the streets as well. Let's try to go further. Let's see what's there in here. So a great play of levels, you know, terraces at different levels. Amazing. The courtyard down there is completely shaded, and there's this sun coming onto this terrace. So yeah, levels playing with sun and shadow. So this was the beautiful Haveli we went through, and it belonged to the Chartered Accountant General of the province of Mewar state, and it's 150 years old. So let's proceed further for some more information on architecture around. Now we'll go to the Jagdish temple. We'll explore what's in a temple when it comes to architecture of Udaipur. Let's go. There's this one beautiful entrance to a house completely in stone. This is a colored stone, like they have colored it black, but it's completely in stone, and beautiful gokhada with a chhaja and beautiful entrance. So now we have come to a very important junction. It's called Jagdish Chowk, and here we have a 450 years old Jagdish temple, and if you remember, I had told you when we were down there near City Palace gate, I told you that I will discuss, like, let you know one important fact when it comes to hierarchy. So basically, gods, lords, and people. So this was the place for God. So God has to be on the highest point. But here the situation was where the palace is meant to be on the highest point. So what was the solution to it? The solution was, you can see these stairs where they have taken the plinth level like quite high. If you see the plinth level, it's quite high. If you see the buildings around, the plinth level of this temple is quite high. So this is how they took Jagdish temple and made it to, took it to the highest point, more than the City Palace area. So this is how they managed to keep the hierarchy maintained, by taking the plinth up by this level. So this way goes to the City Palace. This is the main entrance to the City Palace. The entrance we were standing some time back was the second entrance, and this is the main entrance to the City Palace area. So yeah, and now we will head towards. So I think we have learned a lot of things about the structures. Now let's go and relax ourselves with some lakeside stuff and discuss lakeside architecture with it. Let's go towards the lake. Again, narrow streets, shaded streets, comfortable, pleasant environment or climate for anybody going around or roving around these streets. It's quite pleasant here. If you haven't realized, let me tell you that we are almost just a few meters lower than the Jagdish temple, and when we had seen previously the Jagdish temple, the plinth looked so high, so many stairs, but we are almost like only a few meters lower than the Jagdish temple right now. So we have climbed a lot. Most of the structures here have modernized, but still they have maintained the typical architectural elements like arches, small windows. So still they have maintained that kind of architecture with these structures. So we have started seeing the water now, and it's a beautiful entrance to the Gangor Ghat. This is Gangor Ghat, and you can already see this beautiful arches, huge gates, and mirror work on the above floors with balconies, brackets, and beautiful artwork. A lot of paintings over there depicting elephants, animals, like a lot of animals over there, peacocks, and then other glass work. So let's get in to know more about Gangor Ghat. So we have finally reached to Gangor Ghat. This is where it's a relief to your eyes after a lot of structures. We see a lot of water here, and a beautiful Gangor Ghat gate where all the arches and the columns are made in marble. This is a marble structure over here, and then above that there is this lot of paintings and mirror work with gokhras over here. So there's this interesting story about Gangor Ghat. So why this is called Gangor Ghat? Because because there is one festival we still celebrate every year over here, is Gangaur festival. So where so there's this story of Gangaur festival where there is union of Shiv and Parvati. So people celebrate that union, and last day the king comes here in the Gangaur boat and addresses the people from this ghat. So that's the reason it's called Gangaur Ghat. So basically this ghat in ancient time, it was used in various ways. So there used to be bathing, there used to be washing. So it was completely for like a public platform where people used to perform daily basis things over here: bathing, washing, and lot more. So basically this ghat also used to be an interactive space between the king and the local people. So everyone couldn't access the king's court for anything, or there was no interaction between king and common people in the court. So this is where the interaction used to happen, where they used to maintain this hierarchy, and the king used to come in the boat and interact with common people over here, and he used to listen to people and have conversations with people. So has a very great importance in that way. It used to have importance then, and it still has that kind of importance. So if you see buildings around, you can see typical Rajasthani architecture all around here, with lot of which most of the structures have converted into hotels. Then there is this small island over here, and then there is this Lake Palace Hotel over there, which was again a palace built. It's a 300 years old palace over there. So lot of surroundings are very obvious in terms of Rajasthani architecture around here. So there's one more building structure over here just besides the Gangaur Ghat, is the Bagor Ki Haveli. So this Bagor Ki Haveli used to be basically meant for the first Prime Minister of Mewar State. So it was constructed for the first Prime Minister of Mewar State, and it's a very beautiful Haveli. We are not gonna go in, but it's a huge Haveli with various courtyards, various terraces in it, various segments where for separate spaces for men and separate spaces for women. So a lot of architectural elements, filled with a lot of architectural elements there. So this is Bagor Ki Haveli. Again, a lot of stone work here. So it was just alongside the Pichola Lake. So let's go towards the other ghats, and let's explore the City Palace, the complete view of City Palace complex from there. Let's go ahead and let's see what's there.
It has traveled a long distance, right from City Palace, passing through the old city. आपको छोटी-छोटी गलियों में लेके गया. He is taken through the small streets, and he would have shown you a small Haveli. Okay, and that Haveli is a very good example of what Rajasthan architecture or Udaipur architecture is all about. What you see here, all the palaces and the background temples and all, you can just extrapolate that Haveli, details of those Haveli, the small Haveli, and it will become a full palace. Just the courtyard becomes bigger, the rooms become bigger, the arches become bigger, and it's or not bigger, rather they keep on. You just keep on adding those elements, and they become a big structure suddenly. So this is what you have learned till now. By the time Amit comes from that ghat, we are going to talk about something more. Just hold on. If Amit is there, can we see Amit? Is Amit seen? Okay, so Amit is still walking, and we can see him coming. Till then, I will brief you about some architectural features. You know, there was in palace, City Palace, or in any old house, there was chota sa darwaja. Okay, the lintel was very down. The reason was they didn't want the enemy to barge in suddenly, and that was the reason. So we asked one of the tour guides. Okay, so how would the king enter in that case? And the other thing was the height of the lintel was low because the king wanted everybody whosoever enters should walk like this. Okay, so he or she bows down and then walks into the king. But then we asked how the king would walk. So they simply explained the king would walk, enter like this. Okay, so here are some funny facts about architecture of Udaipur and what people have been talking about in our place. We have a very good important feature. We'll ask Amit to talk about it more. With water as a feature in our Udaipur, especially our Udaipur architecture. It has played a very important role till date, and it's still, even if you ask a common man, where do you want your house? They'll say, Pani dikhna chahiye. I should be able to see water. And that is what Udaipur mentality is all about. Mentality is, take it in a positive way. Udaipur psyche is all about when it comes to water. We are very well connected, so very well connected to water that we just cannot live without it. Normally, not because of physical conditions, but मन से भी they don't want to have a sukha, they want to see water. And पानी के आजू बाजू में you'll always find good properties, costly properties and all those things. So Amit is, I think he's there now, or he's still far. Can somebody check? Okay, can you check? My team, studio team, can you check Amit is there? He's on the bridge and we can see him walking. Yeah, okay, he's there. Just hold on for a second, I believe. Just a minute more. It's a bit of a long distance. Okay, so there are few questions which have come up. I may be able to answer those. Priyanka, do you have those questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have received few questions.
By the time Amit comes, I'll try and answer. Maybe Priyanka would also answer a few of them.
First one, I think I can answer.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so it is when you talk about lime and stone, could you tell more about these materials? So most of old Udaipur is made in stone and lime. Both materials are very easily available here. And what they say about lime is that lime ages and gets stronger over centuries. So if you make a building in cement, it's going to stand for like 100 odd years. But if you make a building in stone and lime, it's going to stand for centuries. So it's a different kind of legacy. And as Udaipurites, we all are very fortunate that we have these materials that stand. So the next question is, how has the transition been over time in architecture of Udaipur?
Well, this I think Amit can answer it better because he does these heritage walks and all. But I want to add something more on the material aspect. This is too short a time to make you understand how lime works or how stone is used in architecture of Udaipur. Maybe we can have a separate session. We tried to have a stall in our exhibition area. So you can just check in the stall area where we have windows to vernacular stall. There you can find some information about lime and conservation and all those things. But we can definitely have a session sometime later in maybe next festival or maybe in midway sometime. So we'll talk more about the materials. Now another question is, how important is water in Udaipur architecture? So I already mentioned, like, architecture revolves around water here.
Udaipur is defined by water.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes, the whole tourism, the life, and even who are not living in the touristic spots, they tend to drive towards water every evening. It is part of our culture. We cannot live without water.
And you all know or not, I don't know. Basically, Udaipur is called this Venice of the East. Okay. So initially, what was planned was we had some क्या बोलेंगे उसको? Moats. Okay, moats around the city, and water used to be there full 365 days, and the city was planned around those areas. Even I lived in the city for quite some time, and I still remember coming with my my grandmother to this ghat to take bath. Like, I was living just 200 meters away from here. So this has been a very, it has been in the blood of Udaipur people. Like it's not blood, it's Udaipur water that flows into Udaipur people's lives and bodies. So that's
Venice,
what
and the water is warm enough so one can take a dip in it.
Yeah, okay.
It's not just to see but
Okay.
to feel also.
So can we have another question? I think there's one more.
There are two more questions. Sorry. The transition of architecture in
Yeah.
Udaipur.
Okay.
I think we can
Yeah.
speak about it.
Yeah, you can. Transition. Yeah, Amit will speak better. Yeah, let Amit speak,
Then
talk about
this
it.
is again.
Okay, how frequently do you do these heritage walks, and do you do this in person? Yes, Amit does a lot of them in person. In these COVID times, we are just seeing to it that somehow if the message can be passed on, so we are using technology. And yes, we do a lot of heritage walks. We've been doing this we mean Amit has been doing this, and I've been assisting him many a times. Especially for students, he does lots of them. And it's a, yeah. And the difference is like, it is from an architect's perspective. So he will zoom into details. We had a very short time today. This heritage walk lasts for 3 hours actually, and we somehow try to sum it up in 45 minutes. So he zooms into details and shares a lot of information for you. So it's interesting to know, and it will help you. Maybe
small
yeah.
details like having a toady or having a stone staircase perfectly into a stone wall. The kind of construction techniques that have been used over time, we still don't see that. And the chhajjas and everything, which are made from big stone slabs. All these things, when you look minutely, then you'll be able to understand how one can build around the same.
So I still don't see Amit, and just hold on for
I
a
think we
minute.
lost him.
We lost him.
Finally.
It is too far, I believe. He's walking all the way because it's a very small lane, and you cannot do it by a car or a four-wheeler, and even two-wheeler doesn't work here.
There was also this question that everybody is asking, that why Udaipur Architecture Festival? So everybody, and since we have time on our hands, we might as well talk about that also.
Yeah, sure. Carry
You
on.
say.
Okay. Udaipur Architecture Festival. Across the globe, we are a great destination as far as weddings is concerned, as far as parties are concerned, as far as people are concerned. You would have seen us on the global map, and we thought, why don't we talk about architecture of the place now, and let it be a platform. We don't talk about that architecture, but let it be a platform to spread architectural awareness or architectural knowledge to all. And so we thought, let's have a festival. Let us not have a conference mode. Okay. So you would have seen that we are very informal in our whole approach. Even our speakers are very informal. Let me share one more insight into our speakers till now. None of the speakers said that you give us the questions beforehand. So everything is like on the go. Everything is extempore, and we have been doing this in live format only. There is no scripting at all. Yeah, very spontaneous. There is no scripting at all. You have to trust me on that.
I think three of us, we are doing this because we are not getting to do anything because of the COVID thing. Otherwise, earlier we have done workshops with mud, with bamboo, with lighting, and with acting and music. But there was this lag of some few months, and COVID pushed us
Yes.
to do something bigger than what we have been doing physically. And virtually it has come out to be a mega event. We were not expecting such
Overwhelming response. Yeah.
overwhelming response first from the speakers. They were so excited about the whole event, and then from the fraternity and from students, and all this has been a very joyful ride for us.
Okay.
And we are enjoying this.
I'll shout out, Amit. Can you just mute me for a second? Yeah, okay. So we can see Amit is running down, and he's joining us in a minute. Just a minute, he's joining us. Can you be faster, Amit? Amit, faster. He has been walking for almost 1.5 kilometers now, and yeah. So we have the sprinter. Okay, Amit, welcome. So there is yeah. Okay, you can use this.
Hello everyone. So sorry that.
No issues.
So basically,
Yeah, last question. You say what you want to say.
So I hope you enjoyed this heritage walk, and we had time constraints and people, lot of disturbance, permission issues, and all that. So I hope, but then again, I managed to take you through the architectural journey that one should know about Udaipur and its streets and the life on streets. So hopefully it went well, and hopefully I was able to take you in a different world from where you are today. So let's go to the question answer session. Like I think.
Yeah. So we answered most of the questions. There's just one left for you. Yeah. Is it, how has the transition been over time in architecture of Udaipur?
So basically, I've shown you, some of the structures with one being completely old structure and the other one being with modernization. So the pattern, they are trying to repeat the pattern, but in a modern way. Like they have taken small ornamentation elements, like diamond shapes, geometrical shapes basically, and they have tried to accommodate in the modern structures. So that is how the transition is taking place. But I think people are still there. Like it's not completely modern or glass buildings or something like that. But people are still there. But there is a transition as well. So yeah.
There is one more question which I answered. How frequently do you do
heritage walk?
So basically,
I already answered. Okay, but you can. So that it matches.
Right. So basically, we keep doing it with architectural students. We have done it with other college students as well. So we often do these architectural heritage walks. It is different from general touristy heritage walk. It's not actually. I'm not like a professional heritage walk or a tourist guide. But we actually do it as part of our workshop, Asaf Foundation workshop. We do it for kids coming from different colleges from all around India, and we take them through. We try to guide them through the architectural journey of this old city. I hope you answered the same.
Yeah, I did the same.
Almost same.
We are the extempore and we are Sacha and all the whole.
Perfect.
Okay, so the another question was.
What?
About limestone stones, I said that we are going to do many such. We'll do a workshop.
Absolutely. In fact, we had planned a workshop in this festival as well, but due to COVID situation, materials, using materials so
and live workshop we planned.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
not like virtual live workshop with live kit to every participant, but then the logistics didn't work out.
When it's like about 2,000 registrations, it's very difficult.
Yeah. That was our problem.
Yeah.
But we tried to even sort it out with but that was manageable because we have almost 300. So,
But yeah, Asaf Foundation will definitely come up with one such workshop too for us.
So that's it. So for now, we are almost an hour now.
Okay. And thank you so much for being there, for bearing with us, and
Bearing with you.
Sorry.
No.
So thank you so much for attending this heritage walk and being here with us, and hopefully we have the lineup as I already previously that we have a beautiful lineup coming in with architect Anna, architect Dean, and Paul again with origami workshop. And we are really thankful to Rajasthan Tourism for being partners with this whole event. And so thank you Rajasthan Tourism and all other partners who have helped us reach this level. And today we have received like almost 2,000 registrations, so that's also good news for us. So
we also
yes, Eternal Mewar. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Eternal Mewar has been one of the strengths that we started the whole journey with. So thank you, Eternal Mewar, and thank you all, and see you soon. Hopefully, please be there for the origami workshop. It's at 2 p.m. and yesterday we couldn't finish it properly, but this time, yes, definitely.
So see you at 2 o'clock in the same auditorium that you were in
Udaipur.
2 p.m. at
Udaipur Architecture Festival 2020.